morning, everyone. Are you ready to start off? A couple of things before we move on to this particular training session that's about selling business outcome. A couple of things I want to mention to you guys. One thing that I always tell my sales audience, customers do not buy products. You know that, right? Right?
Yes.
Then what do they buy? What do they buy?
Technology.
Technology, services, what else?
Solution to the problems.
Solution to the problems, excellent. Customers do not buy products. Customers buy what the product does for them. Always remember that. Whenever we try selling products to the customer, majority of the times we might fail. The only reason why we'll always succeed is when we try selling the customers the solution, not the product. So in essence, we're selling the product. Yes, we're selling the product or the service or the software or the hardware, but at the end of the day, we are selling the functionality of that product or service. Number one. Second point before I start off. A few days back, I visited a place and it had pretty fancy kind of frames on different walls in the room, in the training room. One of them had a quote from Einstein, and it said, "You cannot gauge the capability of a fish considering that it cannot climb a tree." Does that make sense? How does that make sense?
You cannot
expect this fish to climb a tree. Right?
You cannot expect a fish to climb a tree. So evaluating a fish on the basis that it cannot climb a tree makes absolutely no sense, right? And how does that thing relate to sales?
You should be selling products which fits the customer scenario.
Yes,
rather
and
than what you want to sell.
Yes, and
Understand the customer problem first.
okay, fair enough. What else?
We need to understand the customer requirements, his budget.
Yes, fair enough. What else? There's a very key element that we are missing out. I'm sure it's a see, a lot of things that I say here will be there in the back of your mind. The idea of this 2-day program is to bring those things from the back of your mind to the front of your mind. That's the idea of these 2 days of the program. Okay, so these things are there. It's no rocket science that I'll be telling you in today and tomorrow's session. It's all there in the back of your mind. But what is that thing, the key element that's missing? I'm sure you guys know it. It's just not popping up at the right time.
Just trying to correlate to the parable which you just said of Einstein. You cannot judge a fish in the ground.
Yeah, but how does that relate to sales?
Just trying to correlate.
Yeah. How does that relate to sales? Monday mornings. See, these couple of days have to be extremely interactive because we 8-10 people have to be in this room for a good 8 hours, 7 hours, 6 hours today, and 6, 7, 8 hours tomorrow. So let this 10-12 hours be, interactive, fun, talking, not just me talking and you guys listening, because that'll make it very boring, eh? And other than making it boring, you'll sound, okay, am I sitting in a classroom or what? Okay? And since I teach as well, so that might overcome if you guys are too silent. So what does fish climbing a tree have to do with sales?
Fish is a salesman.
Okay.
Yeah, and am I right at that point? Fish is a salesman.
Unless you complete it, I cannot comment on it.
Okay.
Because see, the real idea is till we listen completely to the other person, especially being salespeople or when we talk to the customer services people, the real idea is till you complete a particular sentence, one shouldn't be judging you that are you right or wrong, right? Isn't it? So what do you think? What's the correlationship between fish and tree and sales? Let me give you guys another example. And though I'm giving you example of a different sector altogether, it's an FMCG example that I'm giving you, but just try correlating to it, it'll make more sense. The part of the world that I come from, even if I'm going for the grocery to the supermarket, I've been given a particular list. And on that list, I've been given products and brands to buy. So I go to the supermarket and I pick up Lipton, for example, from the shelf. And there's a very fancy lady standing there in the supermarket. and she says, why are you buying Lipton? Why not buying Mahmood or any other brand? Try this one. I say, sorry, I cannot. Because I've been told to do something and I'll do it. Does that make sense?
Told by whom?
Told by the lady of the family that you have to purchase this particular product. So, so now you guys can relate more to it. Absolutely. So there's no choice. In a nutshell, I'm not the decision maker. So you see the flaw in that lady's psyche, the pretty fancy lady standing in the supermarket, the flaw in her psyche is that she's approaching the wrong person. She's pitching the wrong person. So no matter how good she is at convincing me to buy Mahmood tea, I'm not the decision maker. I've been directed to bring Lipton tea. I'll never buy Mahmood tea no matter how fancy she is, how beautiful she is. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So if we are approaching the wrong person and we're saying the sales is not being made,
You're like a fish trying to climb the tree.
absolutely. So you're the fish who's trying to climb the tree. You're not the fish who's trying to swim. The fish that's trying to climb the tree. Why? Because we're pitching into the wrong person. Does that make sense now? So throughout these 2 days, that is today and tomorrow, we'll be focusing on these two things. A, we shouldn't be selling products, services, softwares, anything. We should sell what the customer needs. And B, how should we find and target the right decision makers, ensuring that we do not harm or disrespect intentionally or otherwise the gatekeepers of that particular region. Those are the IT people. We'll talk about the objectives in a bit. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So with these two things, we'll start off today's session. My name is Muntazir Haider, and I'm associated with Inwise, and I'll be conducting the Cisco training program, which is about selling business outcomes. Okay, and I would want you guys to introduce yourselves as well, because since we'll be here for 16 hours, 8 hours, 10, 12, 16 hours, it's important that we get to know each other so that we have a pretty good time with each other. So can we start off with you, sir?
My name is Bhunesh. I'm from